Good morning.
Morning, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm okay.
So, let's get right down to the nitty-gritty here real quick. Robert Paulson, he's in the county jail there in New Jersey. He's in there for New Jersey for posting a website, and I believe it's his video that he has up and running now, and I don't see anything in there valid enough to put him at a $250,000 jail bond.
That's what I say too. I mean, it was a tremendous leap from the charge of threatened violence to looking at that website and seeing anything that he made inferences, but there wasn't anything that stood out as a direct threat to anybody.
No, I was that his video that he actually posted on his website based on that very first video that claims that the FBI, the judges, and all the information they compiled is that his actual video?
Yes, sir.
Okay, because that's the same one that I've seen on YouTube. And there's a
Right.
lot of contact within that video too, explaining his information, and some even added a little bit more. So this isn't anything new for parents like you and I that is new under the sun. So what makes him such a threat?
Well, I think what happened. Well, in my interview with him on Sunday, I asked him specifically what had transpired to get him arrested. And in his recount to me, what had happened was he had, the website has been up for a while.
Hmm.
Well, he modified it by placing that heading on it, the heading that directly calls out Governor Chris Christie, you know, and he added a few of those elements into the video as well. So it didn't contain that stuff before. He made a modification to put that stuff in it. And then he said Thursday he put the ideas together. Friday he had posted it. Friday he had also got the knock on the door from the state police. They came in inquiring about the website specifically. And then they asked him why he didn't follow the proper procedures. He said he has been for years, and he lost, way to go. So
Right.
he just decided to take matters into his own hands. Now, I must say that this is all the information that I got from Mr. Paulson. I'm still trying to ascertain what, he could be telling me a crock. And, there could be other things that may have led up to the arrest. I don't know. So I'm still trying to find that out.
Okay. The state police, as you're referring to, in New Jersey, isn't he allowed to be able to make like freedom of speech, freedom to protest?
I mean, that's what you and I understand as citizens, right? I mean, that's his inalienable right as a United States citizen. We both understand that. That's why I'm digging deeper. It seemed to be, like I said, a tremendous leap from posting a website to being arrested for threatened violence. Now, I did have I got a random call yesterday from an attorney that stated that he knew of the case and knew of the other side of this case. And apparently, what he revealed to me is that the father, or Mr. Paulson in this case, has a history of violence. And I asked him specifically, I said, let me ask you, do you think that this history of violence, has this been ongoing like prior to Mr. Paulson's stepping into the family court arena? Like if he has a long-standing history of violence dating back to way before his entry into the family court arena, okay, maybe I can understand that. But I can understand even better if Mr. Paulson all of a sudden started having a violent record because of his involvement with the family courts. Because anybody that I've come across, myself included, I'm a 10-year veteran. I've come out on the other side of this thing. I won my case simply by default, perseverance over 10 years fighting for custody of my daughter, and I finally won. And I know how frustrated I was in the courts. Every time they're making some zany ruling, like, how did you rule that? And having to go back, there's not so many people that have the ability. I was incarcerated twice, for false imprisonment. And I know for a fact this is happening all over the country. That's why when I saw the leap that they made from posting a website to being incarcerated for threatened violence, I just think this is happening way too often in our country today, that parents are just like waking up. Next thing you know, they're being jailed because they took a stand against the establishment. Just
Right, and that's the thing that appalls me about the whole situation too, because every time I'm in court here in Wisconsin, they always bring up my websites, and I've been labeled as a violent person too.
right.
Ex-wife placed a restraining
And
order, and they
my
use
first
that as
question
leverage.
to
But even
you,
though it's all hearsay, and when it was my time to talk on the allegations, which are false, when it was time for my ex to actually speak up, she couldn't prove anything that she was. But on the side of air of caution, the judge sided with her.
right?
It makes me think, what's the sense of me even serving any time in the Marine Corps, serve honorably, and then to get out and this is the kind of crap that parents put up with.
Same here. I served in the army. I've been a grunt my entire life, basically.
Same here.
I'm a ground pounder from way back, and my main thing is, this is a battle. We're on a battle, and I can't leave anybody behind. You know, I've won, so to speak, and yet I don't want to see anybody else go through what I went through. It's not something, and I see it all the time. I'm trying to do what I can, try to get involved and, make the steps on my own, to see what I can do to help people either avoid the system, find another way, circumnavigate the system if you can, to find a better way to come to resolutions. And you don't want to step into the family court. You don't. It's just you leave yourself open to too much, like Mr. Paulson.
Well, sure, but I'm sure you have a handful of people that you know that went through family court and they have no issues at all.
Oh, right, right.
And then when they hear your case, whether it's family or friends, they're going to think you're kind of whacked out because there's something obviously not there or you're not telling us the full truth. So does Mr. Robert Paulson, does he have any transcripts from the
Um,
court itself where I can pull those?
well, here again, I just got involved. I've only been involved in this for a week with Mr. Paulson. I
Okay.
mean, it went very quick. It went from me. He posted something on another website saying that he was going to take matters into his own hands, and then after doing that, it kind of ramped up. I had him call me. We started a dialogue. He told me what he was going to do. He told me what he was going to put on his website. I said, I tried to talk him down from the ledge. I'm like, you put that on there and you're opening yourself up to, some situations that you may not want to get into, including they might be knocking on your door, taking you to jail. Who would have known that I was so prophetic, because he did it. They come knocking on the door and take him to jail.
Sure.
It's insane what's going on, but I'm just trying to get the word out, trying to help people in need, and I don't know what else to do.
Right. Do you happen to have the case ID number by chance there in New
Every,
Jersey?
everything that I have is like booking report, inmate number. Um, I have the only thing I can offer is inmate ID number. Until I can find the actual documentation that explains the case deeper. His inmate ID number is 281-237, and that's
281237.
correct. And
Okay.
that's in Passaic County, New Jersey.
Now, is there a GAL involved in this case? Because I assume he's pro se.
Um, I'm sure there is. Here again, I've been working at it from a different angle. I haven't been able to obtain all the information that people are asking me to obtain yet. I do intend. I asked the attorney that called me up from the other side. I asked him, do you have a copy of the arrest warrant? Do you, being an attorney, can you get me that information? He stated that he would. He tried to get me the information and forward it to me. Now, whether that happens or not is a different story. Meanwhile, I'm having to research where do I go to get the documents for um, the actual arrest, warrant, public information type stuff. But I'm trying to navigate where I can find that in the New Jersey, court system. So aside from actually driving to Passaic County, which is only an hour and a half away from me, nothing that I can't do, but working during the day and trying to make arrangements during the night, I just haven't been able to get over there yet. I just had a video conference with Mr. Paulson yesterday, obtained some of that information, and I'm trying to work things from a different angle.
Well,
So,
speaking of which, when you're in jail on the other side, you're not the one that's being questioned. Are they questioning you for trying to do a video interview in the jail itself?
well, they're not questioning me, but in the interview yesterday, it was insane because it's supposed to be like a normal visit, like you and I are having.
Right.
You can hear me, I can hear you. Unfortunately, in the video visit yesterday, I could hear Mr. Paulson, but he could not hear me. I had to end up, this is exactly what I was doing. I was writing stuff down on a piece of paper and holding it up to the web camera saying, I can hear you. That's what happened throughout the entire video visit. Not only that, but when he was talking, um, it was breaking up like bad cell phone connection. And then on top of which, in the middle of the conversation, because I was having problems hearing him, or hearing him, and he wasn't able to hear me, and I had to write everything down, you know, service connected disability, I can't hear. And I pulled out my phone and started recording what was transpiring. They came up, blacked out the screen, and they said, your visit has been suspended. And I'm sitting here, I know they still have the cameras rolling. I'm like, I'm explaining to them what I just explained to you. He can't hear me. I can hear him. I'm having to write down questions and hold them up to the web camera for him and us, for us to have an open dialogue. I said, I can't hear. I'm trying to record the conversation so that if I miss something, if I miss a spelling of a name or whatever from Mr. Paulson, I can go back and listen to what transpired. And I guess I don't know if they watched and saw that I put the phone away and then they opened the visit back up. And so it was like, the screen went black. They posted that message and they said, your visit has been suspended. No, I don't know exactly verbatim, but it's basically because I had electronics, no electronics.
Well, that's just amazing to me because obviously they're watching both ends, you and him. And, I've done this, for several parents that were in jail for
They
doing
said this
even
video,
less of something that he put together. And it's never been where they watched it so closely.
right? They said that the video may be monitored. So obviously it was. No use of electronic devices. This video may be monitored.
Well, sure. So even though you could barely hear him, you should be able to recall that audio from that county court and use that as well.
Right.
Because that audio isn't just for them. You can retrieve those audio files.
Right.
Have you tried that, or do
No,
you
I
use that instead of using your cell phone?
I haven't. I mean, I do have. I took the notes during the conversation. There wasn't much that we said. He didn't reveal his case numbers and all that stuff. So I'm still, I'm gonna have to go back and try to get another visit with Mr. Paulson and see
Sure.
if I can obtain the other information. See how his arraignment went. He was supposed to be arraigned yesterday. He was looking for two things: getting a public defender and to reduce his bond, obviously.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna try to see if I can set up another visit. I
Sure.
tried to contact a lawyer friend of his who did contact me after the visit. I went and had to search these names out because obviously he couldn't recall the numbers because he's locked up. And that's one thing that I would say to, I had the same situation happen to me. I mean, we have all our phones, pre-programmed with numbers. And when it comes to a situation where you get locked up and you're trying to recall numbers out of the top of your head, it's going to be a difficulty. So people may want to prepare, if you do try to fight the system, or even if you're not, somebody just is in arrears on their child support and they get locked up. You want to make sure that you have the ability to either send one text that has a list of numbers for somebody to call, or find a way to have those numbers on you somehow or another, so that easy recall when you're locked up to be able to talk to people. But that attorney did contact me, and she said that she was going to get in contact with the family. She did reveal that Mr. Paulson has been fighting this for a while, and that he, obviously, people say, well, he has a history of. I mean, and I hear this from the attorneys. I don't hear this from the other side. People do look at us as crazy people because you're standing up against the establishment. How dare you? And what else are we going to do? I
Yeah,
mean,
it's actually pre-programmed in our psyche from the public school system from kindergarten all the way up. The
right?
teacher's the front, she's the superior. Then you go into the military like you and I, and we start to see that, the JAG, the Judge Advocate General. You and I
Yep.
understand that completely, or you should because we were both in the military. And a lot of these judges are actually still JAGs in the civilian sector too. And what are they? Instant willing obedience to orders. So if the judges that are part of the JAG and yet are civilian judges, they're still following the hierarchy of, chain of command. So
Right.
if the government broad scaled something all the way across the board, they're all following orders. This is a fight that's been in the 1960s, and here we're still not getting anywhere.
Exactly.
So again, it goes right back to the original root. Why is there a Title 4-D? Why are they taking for every dollar somebody pays in the child support, the government is backing it up dollar for dollar? There's an incentive to break up the family.
You just go straight to, and I sent this to this attorney yesterday that I questioned Title 4D exactly, and of course he fires back with something in regards to legal speak on what Title 4D really means, and I basically just told him, I said, that's an interpretation, and it's an interpretation by an attorney trying to obfuscate the direct meaning. On the page itself, the link that I sent him is to the SSA site, and broken down into the Title 4D section. It takes you directly to, in broad black and white letters on the page, incentive program for the state. And then it lists all the incentive programs for the state. He's trying to explain that, oh, it's a percentage of child support that is incentivized. It's still incentivized. So if it's a percentage of, you want to bilk more money because you're incentivizing just a percentage of that.
Well,
So,
true. It's just like social services. The more kids they run through the system, the more
right,
money they make. The public schools are no different. The more kids they get on drugs, the more money that the state or that school gets.
exactly. And I told the attorney, I said, um, he was continuing to say that there's a look into all this, and attorneys are making change, and I'm like, yeah, I appreciate the fact that you said that there's hope on the horizon, but what I don't get in the present is the cases where there is a blatant lack of jurisprudence
Mhm.
displayed by the presiding judge. Like, for instance, a father proves beyond a reasonable doubt he is the better parent to attend to the best interests of the child than the mother. Now, this is just an example. You can switch genders, but one parent or the other has all this evidence that's stacked against the other, and yet the judge rules in favor of the other parent that the evidence was stacked against. And then, we're left scratching our heads. Those are the cases being observed that leave the general public scratching their head. I'm sure, somebody could say something like, well, without having all the facts, it's hard for me to understand how the judge ruled like that. I can give them that, but somebody that's been around the family court system for a while starts to understand that, there's multiple rulings like this being made across the country. And
Mhm.
I just simply, ask, there is mass confusion out there, and understandable upset by parents across the nation because it does seem the family courts are devised to create chaos and
Hmm.
divide families rather than act with the proper jurisprudence and rule in the true best interest of the child. And these parents can't all be disgruntled, angry losers of their cases, can they? I mean, why aren't we looking into? There's a reason why we're not even bothering with all these wacky cases out there. We'll just lock them up, and it's basically to divide and conquer. Maybe those people that we lock up, they'll say, "Oh, okay, I can't go back to jail. I mean, I better stop fighting now," and just kind of toe the line. Keep keep listening to what they're telling you and keep doing what they want you to do, and just go away.
Right. I got a harassment restraining order on me about a year and a half ago because I was posting videos on my parental rights website. And based on the video, I had no, I mean, you've probably seen my website itself. There is no act of violence or promoting of violence. And
Right.
that was used against me as I was harassing my ex-wife. But nonetheless, um, the best interest of the children actually came from the campaign that Hitler used during before World
Exactly.
War II.
I posted that also in another post. I have the direct quote from Mein Kampf that states, if we let the public believe that things are being done in the best interest of the child, we can get everything. You know,
Right. That's a campaign. The same exact words of best interest of the children was basically at that time in the 1930s to take the kids away from the parent and make them state citizens. You
right.
know,
It's a
and
false
the
sense
whole
of security
community
that you
needs to
believe.
raise a child was the same thing then. The
Right.
community needs to raise that child. What are we doing now? We're almost following it in suit of what they did. We're taking on the same doctrine.
Right. Right. I mean, so the call out goes to everybody. Like people are constantly asking, "Oh, what do I do? What do I do?" Just do something. You
Hmm.
know, just do something. I mean, I didn't have to get involved with Mr. Paulson. I don't have to. I don't have to help people. Bottom line is, people said a long time ago, why do you keep fighting? I mean, how could I not fight for my child? I mean, and then that's you start to process the fact that other people are asking you this question, and then you say, how can I not fight for my child? And you put it together and you say, that's exactly what's happening here. They
Hmm.
make you fight. They divide. Okay, who's gonna? Oh, he's got the resources, or she's got the resources to fight. So let's create the chaos, and the money will follow.
Hmm.
you know,
Well, and
and
it's funny because the sheriff actually has the authority to stop these judges in family court, and a lot of them aren't even judges; they're commissioners, which means that they're not even a judge. They're voted in by a panel of judges. But what
right,
people don't seem to understand or care to understand is that if the panel of judges that voted in these commissioner family court judges, if they don't go by the biddings of the people, they can be voted out. But the problem with that is any attorney that goes against that judge when it comes to their case and they lost, they're the ones that aren't even going to win when they get in front of that judge. And yet, then when we have a bureaucracy considered democracy, they don't win. So there's corruption even there if they do have a jury, because that can be tainted as well.
exactly. I mean, I'll give an honest case in point. That reflects that. Um, for years, I had difficulty with the district attorney in the county that my case was heard in, and it started with the mother had absconded with my child years ago. I contacted the county authorities. This is a multi-state situation. They lived in Missouri, I lived in Pennsylvania, um, and the bottom line is, the district attorney at the time was basically stating, I can't, sign warrants willy nilly and go after, this is a civil matter. You need to bring it to court. I basically told him it was in court. That district attorney over the years became the judge. He had an active involvement in my case from way back. When he became judge, he refused to recuse himself.
Hmm.
And matter of fact, when he became judge, my case was the first case that he heard. Now, I'm the one that brought this to court from day one. And, I've been fighting it all this time. Now, when one would think that you go in front of the judge and your attorney is the golfing partner of the judge. You're like, wow, dude, how'd you end up with that? I don't know, luck of the draw. Meanwhile, the respondent is pro se, and she's not equipped to handle things pro se. She's
Mm-hmm.
just showing up in court and hoping that somebody's going to listen to her pleas, right? And so we have all the evidence that I just presented earlier, stacked against her. And, I'm waiting for the judge's ruling. And like I said, I'm in Missouri, or she's in Missouri, I'm in Pennsylvania. Judge rules, weekend visitation for the father. Weekend visitation. How am I going to handle weekend visitation in Pennsylvania to Missouri? 1,000 miles away every weekend? Are you crazy? So, then I go back to my attorney and I say, obviously we need a modification here. We need to appeal this.
Well, sure, but that's proof that because you're not willing to travel 1,000 miles, you must not really care.
No, and it wasn't that because I wanted to show. I mean, I do care so much. Why don't you give me my child for 9 months out of the year? Let the mother have the summer visitation because I want my child to be properly educated. The mother doesn't care about that. I want my daughter to be in a stable environment. The mother doesn't care about that. All the stuff that we proved leading up to that, it was strictly just a disciplinary action for bringing this to court. So when I did have him go back to the judge, pray to the court that I tried to get discovery in the case. The judge disallowed that. And okay, let me get summer visitation. So he did allow that 3 months in the summer. And when my attorney went back to the judge, the cronies working together, if you're my attorney, and you're the golfing buddy with the judge, you guys rub elbows all the time. How in the heck did I lose that case? You
Hmm.
know, one's
Well, there's child support involved.
exactly, exactly. She wasn't going to be able to pay it. I was. She didn't have a job. I did. It's a no-brainer when you think of it in
Right.
terms of Title 4D.
Seeing the Title 4-D and seeing where the trends are, it doesn't necessarily mean the person who gets the kids is a better fit parent. It's usually the one that's the losing parent is the one who gets the kids, and the one that's the winner is the one that's paying.
Right. But see, then, everything that I brought to court from day one, you fast forward to all the years later, 8 years later, me getting exactly what I asked for from day one. Because, the mother just proved everything that I said over the years. And her actions of me having to keep bringing this back to court, to keep fighting for custody of my child. Eventually, here I am 10 years later, sole custody. Mother has supervised visitation, and she's paying me child support.
Right.
So, but it took me 8 attorneys to get to that point.
Yeah. The new attorney that I hired myself ultimately ended up firing him because been a lot of fornication between the attorney and the judge.
Right.
In my case, where where the judge would actually make her way to the meeting room where he is collecting information from, and I've only had him for the last one from Madison for 3 weeks. And here they're having conversations back and forth. So we met up for lunch, thinking that he was going to charge me $200 for a lunch date as he's pounding fries in his mouth. And here I get a bill in the mail for $200 because we went on a lunch date together. And he had to make a point that the judge actually made it in his room and asking questions and, saying, actually blaspheming my name. Defamation of character and slander is all in that conversation with those two had. And this is the judge. This is the commissioner. So I'm kind of appalled that she makes a point, but I'm not the only one. In this county, it seems like the dads are the overwhelming majority of them are the ones that are paying child support. Where I can go to a county right down the road, and it's usually where they side with the moms. And so then you look at the statistics for each state, you see different counties doing different things. This county's for dads. This county's against dads. This county's against dads. This county's against dads. So they kind of balance the state out.
I had the guardian ad litem in my case all those years ago when it was first brought to light. I had an attorney that, um, representing me. he wasn't doing the work that I needed him to do. So, obviously I was frustrated. Simply, out of the gate, the mother refused to put my name on the birth certificate. So I'm begging the courts to allow me to get a paternity test done. You know, let me get a paternity test to prove that I am the father of my child. I mean, the fact that I'm here fighting, trying to prove that I can take responsibility for my child should speak volumes. But for whatever reason, the attorney that I had kept refusing to bring it up in court.
Hmm.
And I'm like, how have we gone this far and you still have, I don't understand. That was point number one to bring up in court was my need for a paternity test. And you still refuse to bring it up. What does he do? He pulls out of my case, removes himself from my case. And then the guardian ad litem's playing like she's helping me. And one of the statements that she's made to me was, "You have to understand, you're probably not going to win. So you want to do whatever you can to get as much time with your daughter as you can. Why am I not going to win? Why do you assume I'm not going to win?" Well, the judge doesn't like military people.